What is up, guys? Welcome, Crypto FUD. And let's jump right into this, guys. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. We got some big stuff going on. Obviously, we're going to talk about what's the big thing going on tomorrow. J-Hole, Jackson's Hole, no Diddy on that one. Got some big stuff going on. What's going on with the market, Ethereum. We have some bullish stuff. We have some bearish stuff, obviously, but we're going to get past it all. But we're going to fly through this. We're not going to take up much time, so let's just jump right into this, guys. So again, welcome. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Thursday. Let's jump right into this. So Bitcoin right now, obviously, you guys have known for the last few days, we have kind of been just lagging, kind of just sitting around in a very boring time or a boring price range. Obviously, given that we have Jerome Powell coming out tomorrow to talk, the markets don't know what we're getting ourselves into. As of now, you can see Bitcoin is around 113,660. Looks like we have come up as of in the last 5 minutes to come test this 113,780 area, which is a big spot for some resistance. You can see we have been rejected once again. I've said this plenty of times, and I'll say it again. I said this at the beginning of the week. We actually talked about this during our member stream on Sunday. This week, I am expecting, even today, if we see any kind of bounces or moves towards the upside, it's most likely going to be short-lived until we hear Jerome Powell speak tomorrow. So just take that in consideration. Even if Bitcoin miraculously starts jumping up 115, 116, and it looks like we are on an absolute tear, unless there is some breaking news that Jerome Powell is going to be coming out tomorrow, and we know for a fact it's going to be 100% dovish, and he's going to be talking about reducing interest rates, guarantee that any kind of pump that we do see is most likely going to get rejected at some point, and we are going to most likely come back down to these areas that we're in right now. Another thing, as of now, we have support around this 112,600. We'll call it 112,600. We might see tonight maybe that final push towards the downside, just because with anticipation of tomorrow's Jackson Hole meeting, right? And if you guys are aware or not aware, Jackson Hole is basically where Jerome Powell and I believe other speakers are going to come out and they just talk about the year, economy, projections, as far as, what they foresee as far as with the markets and the economy coming up in the next few months and the next year to come. It is a market mover. Every year, it doesn't matter if we're in a good economy or a bad economy, every year the markets sell off right before Jackson Hole. So what you're seeing right now is to be expected. We knew this was going to happen, right? So in my opinion, what I've been doing is taking advantage of it and just been stacking up on whatever projects that I see are down that I'm holding, just want to keep accumulating, because we know that most likely in the next week or two, we'll probably blow past this until we get to the FOMC meeting that is going to be coming up in September. And let's just bring that up right now. Craig, what's going on? If what happens? All right. So this is for the FOMC meeting that's coming up in 27 days. So we have less than a month until the actual FOMC meeting, where the market is still anticipating that we're going to see some interest rate drops. But you can see, as I've been, fair warning you guys, it looks like it is slowly but surely shifting over to where it's most likely going to be like a 50-50, where the markets are probably going to be half, saying that we're probably going to see some kind of reduction in interest rates. And you have the other half that's probably saying, nope, we're most likely going to see a pause. Why are the markets shifting? Well, the big thing is if you guys remember last week we got some terrible macro news, right? The PPI, no Diddy. I didn't even realize how much of a market mover it was going to be, given that it just came out so bad. Remember, PPI is basically, instead of the CPI, right? CPI is what you and I pay for our goods, right? How much inflation is affecting your goods, right? Well, PPI is going to be how much the retailers are paying for their goods before they sell it off to you and I, right? And it was supposed to be at 0.02. It came in at 0.09, which is almost over a 4-time increase for goods. And I don't know what particular goods that they factor in, because with all these freaking numbers and stuff like that, they some of them count, oil and stuff like that and whatever. It's the numbers that were given, and they weren't good. And the point of this is we gave AMO to Jerome Powell. You know the guy does not want to reduce rates for whatever reason. He does not want to reduce rates, right? And we basically we were pressuring him, the president, everybody's after him, and just pressuring him, the market. Yet last week, 99% that we're going to get some kind of a reduction in interest rates, and then we get the macro numbers, and now people are like, well, shit. Now we just gave Jerome Powell a real reason now, right? Because before, we weren't giving him any reasons. For the most part, inflation has been coming down. Job labor has been getting weaker, right? As we've been moving, basically what he's been looking for, we've been kind of providing. The economy has pretty much been providing, right? Whether it's good or bad. But now we've actually given him some reasons that he could potentially kick the can further down the road, meaning down this year. A lot of analysts are still calling for, I believe, 3 or 4 rate cuts this year, which I don't understand how that's possible because we only have 3 meetings, including September, October, December. Basically for this year. So I don't understand how that's possible unless he does some kind of emergencies. Some people I see in the Discord are talking about him potentially reducing rates tomorrow. And I would love to see that. But I'm telling you right now, it's probably a 99% chance that he is not going to reduce rates. I think the big thing that we're going to be focusing on tomorrow is how is his language? Is he coming out hawkish? Is he saying the same shit that he always says? Like I always tell you guys, you got to look for those keywords. Uncertainty, tariffs, higher inflation and stuff like that. That and given maybe a few other words that he likes to circle around. Those are going to be your hawkish language that most likely the markets will probably sell off on, right? So we'll see how it plays out. But regardless, whatever happens tomorrow, guys, I guarantee that most likely by next week, the week after, we should probably get past it. Now I say should probably. I say these words because we're also getting into September, and I've said this plenty of times. September tends to be not a good month during bull cycles. I've been saying this to you guys for the last few weeks, just so you can kind of get prepared. Usually it's not a good month. Flip, what's going on, bro? Israel, what's going on, bro? Top of the morning, back to you, bro. Top of the morning. I'm sure everybody's at work right now. But yeah, so I mean that's pretty much what we have as far as with the Jerome Powell and everything that's going on tomorrow. I didn't even really I didn't stream yesterday. Today it's like streaming. It's like it doesn't really matter what's going on in the news because everybody's just focused on Jerome Powell and what's going on for tomorrow. If you guys noticed though, yesterday, did you notice some of the alts were starting to pick up a little bit of pace? Yesterday, Ethereum actually was trying to break out at least, got up to about 4,380. As of now, it's sitting around 4,280. So, I mean, definitely the market is tense right now, but honestly does not look bad as far as like alts and Ethereum, really. I mean, yesterday, even a lot of my alts that I'm invested in were up. Some of them were up 20, 30% from the dip from just a few days ago. And that right there shows you that for at least for alts right now, if we can just get past all this stuff, we are going to blast off. I think we're going to have a little bit of turmoil for tomorrow and potentially for the next few weeks. I really do think going into September, we're most likely going to see some turmoil, right? Especially now that we're starting to see the market shift a little bit with interest rates, right? 79% are calling for it now. That's down 20%, and that 20% is now over here thinking that we're going to see some kind of a pause. That if we do see a pause going into September, the markets are not going to be happy. They're not going to be happy. So we'll leave it there with all that. Bitcoin right now, I'm not doing too bad. 113.7. It can't break above this 113.770 area. So we'll see how it plays out. But looking at the crypto bubbles, OKB. I mean, first of all, can we just take a look at this? No, green across the board. Like I said, alts right now are not doing bad. Honestly, they're not doing bad. They're trying to pick up a little bit of those gains that we did see, that we did lose in the last few days. But I mean, really, alts aren't doing bad. Obviously, OKB doing real good. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But going across the board, I see nothing but 5, 6, 7% gains. 4% being for Ethereum running the market right now. I mean, looks great. It honestly looks great. So let's see here. So in fear and greed index, we're pretty much right at that halfway mark, back into neutral. I personally, like I always tell you guys, if you're trading off of just fear and greed index, I feel like we're in a spot right now that it's a solid spot, in my opinion, to be adding up, stacking your chips, not consolidating, but DCA, and because in the next few weeks, when we get past all this, you guys can see how alts are reacting right now. Even during the turmoil that we have right now, these things are going to start ripping. They're going to start ripping, and I'm telling you now, we're all going to go through it. Even if you're buying right now and you're doubling it up and tripling up on some of your projects, you're going to look back and be like, damn, I should have bought more. That was on that dip, right? So fear and greed index right now, I think in a good spot for some buying opportunity across the board, even with some of the alts up right now. OKB, what the hell is going on? This project has been absolutely ripping lately. We talked about this, I believe, a few days ago, where they basically reduced their circulating supply 65%. So now their circulating supply is basically pegged, no diddy, on the same circulation supply for Bitcoin, 21 million. So OKB price rallies 55% as OKX nears full X layer token shift. So let's see here. So OKB price rallied on August the 21st, which is today, climbing more than 55% in a single day to trade near $200. Let's see here. So the price climbed to a new all-time high near 197, driven by anticipation of OKX's migration to its native X layer blockchain and a major token supply revamp. Spot market activity surged alongside derivatives over the last 24 hours. OKB trading volume hit 7.15 billion, up to 2,500% in a day over day. Derivatives activity also exploded. Future volume rose 356% to 180 million, and open interest climbed to 239% to 15.9 million as per CoinGlass. This points to a fresh leverage entering the market and potential for larger intraday swings if momentum snaps. So why is OKB token ripping? Analysts platform Lunar Crush confirmed on the 21st of today that about 90% of OKB has already transitioned, no diddy, to the X layer, part of OKX's plan to unify the ecosystem under the one token, one chain with a fixed supply of 21 million, like I just said, together with the transition, no diddy. The exchange recently disclosed a one-time burn of 65.27 million OKB, removing buyback reserves and past inventory to hard cap supply at 21 million. This approach mirrors Bitcoin's scarcity model, right? So, I mean, it's real simple math, people, right? Two things. They're basically building up their ecosystem because I think they're going to start going crazy on DeFi, which you guys can see, obviously, for Solana. BNB just actually made all-time highs. They're real big on DeFi as well. A lot of these projects, when you build that ecosystem and you start getting people building on the ecosystem, it moves the project, right? So they're basically in that stage right now. But on top of that, they reduced their circulating supply 65%. They literally took out over half of what the circulating supply was. Literally just took it all out of circulation. So if you were holding prior to this, right, you doubled in price just by them doing that. Then on top of that, you're seeing massive money flying in. You're seeing a lot of longs basically being opened on leverage trading. So I mean, it's all basically a cascade event of just all this money surging in on OKB or OKX. So I mean, they're definitely ripping. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you guys know how I feel. We can actually pull the project up right now. But you guys know how I am with projects that start ripping like this. What is it? OKX? Oh, it's OKB, right? Excuse me. When projects start ripping like this, you know, it's awesome. But I would be careful FOMOing in because at some point it's probably gonna pull back with people taking profits, right? Right now, there's a lot of stuff going on the project, so there's a lot of hype, right? There's going to be a lot of hype in the project. See here, I'm just looking for areas that are potentially support and resistance without doing a fib retracement. But you can see, obviously, there's going to be somewhat of a pullback. In my opinion, I don't think they're going back anywhere near these numbers just because of the scarcity of the supply, circulating supply that they did remove. But, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they come back to retest maybe like 166 or potentially $143, which seems to be a spot where they hit their head, and most likely it will be a spot for some support as well. So if you are looking to jump in on this, because who knows, man, this might be the next big thriving ecosystem. You know, it seems, you know, a lot of these people, I'm not saying they're copying Solana or anything like that. You know, blockchain's been around before Solana, but what I'm saying is I think they're taking that motto of just, you know, cheap transactions, secure network, fast transactions. Let's get people building meme coins and stuff on the ecosystem, you know, and watch the project just grow. So, Bill, what's going on, buddy? Bro, not on here, on Discord, but not on here, all right, bro? I don't know who he's calling Crip Daddy, but I think he's talking to Flip. He's not talking to me. Just kidding. Not on here, bro. You know people are going to be watching this later like, Crip Daddy, what the hell? What is he into? Looks like Ethereum's trying to break out of this little channel that we have right here. And I forgot the other day to talk about this. So obviously we have a falling, you know, we have this descending channel on Ethereum. But if you can see, you know, obviously we made local highs somewhere around 4,800. We'll give it, and we've been kind of making lower lows and lower highs as we're in this channel, which tends to be usually a good indication of some kind of a breakout once we find some kind of a bottom, which so far we came back down to test the, like I said, that 4,100 is a pivotal spot that we have to hold. And if you guys can see, as of yesterday, we actually broke slightly below it, finding that trend, right? We came down to about 4,061, but it was very brief, and look what we came back to retest the 4,100, and since then, Ethereum's been doing actually very well at the top of this channel, looking like she just wants to break out. But like I keep telling you guys, just be cautious, because a lot of these breakouts, they might seem like you're like, hell yeah, we're about to here we go. Tomorrow is going to be it's going to move the markets. Today it's going to move the markets. Even any kind of you know, big pumps that we do see, you're probably going to see following, you know, moves towards the downside. I mean, if you look at some of these candles, this is for the 1 hour, you can see, you know, we move up, and then look at that. We literally mimic the same movement, but just towards the downside. We move up, and then we do the same thing, right? So it's just like that right there is telling you that the market is spooked out. People might jump in, get some quick gains, and then they're jumping out because we're just waiting for tomorrow and what is tomorrow going to bring. So let's go over some stuff here. So BlackRock's Bitcoin Ethereum ETF leads the market exodus of over 500 billion. So they're basically just going to indicate, as of yesterday, right? It's no secret that a lot of ETFs were selling off yesterday, right? Because of the uncertainty in the market, right? And I always tell you guys, if there's one thing that's going to move the market, it's going to be Jerome Powell. I'm just kidding. It is Powell, but if one thing's going to move the market, it's going to be uncertainty. Uncertainty is going to always move the markets. It's going to be the worst market mover possible, just because if there's uncertainty, people want to sell off. So I saw this and I thought it was pretty cool. This was as of earlier today. So the U.S. proposes a revival of the 18th century law, so Trump can deputize private citizens to fight crypto scammers. I have not read this. I saw the article and I was like, that sounds kind of cool, because you ever gotten rug pulled and you want to find who did it? Maybe they're going to allow you to finally do that, Bill. If someone rug pulls you, you can actually go and find out who it was, and now you have justification to go after them. I'm just kidding on that one. So the U.S. Representative David, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, but we'll call him David, has introduced legislation granting the president's authority to act against crypto criminals operating abroad. The bill filed as Resolution HR 4988, invokes the rarity used to concept of letters of marque and reprisal, okay, which is a legal instrument dating back to maritime warfare. We're getting down into the pirates. That's why I'm like, wait, I've never seen this word before. Historically, such letters authorize privateers to attack and seize enemy ships during the wartime. Oh, God. Providing governments a way to retaliate against foreign aggression. Under David's proposal, the mechanism would extend into a digital domain. The legislation would allow private individuals or companies to act on behalf of the United States to recover stolen assets or disrupt cyber criminals operations targeting U.S. interests. These private actors could be instructed to use all means responsibly necessary to seize assets or detain foreign actors, including those linked to state-sponsored cybercrime networks. Now, who do you think? I want to see if you guys, anybody, what's going on, G? Real quick, because I don't know. I know we don't have a real big crowd this morning, because I'm a little late streaming. But who do you guys think is the biggest state sponsor of crypto scams? Who do you think? It's government. Who do you think is government? I'm like thinking who do you think's government is promoting these I don't know how to say it, but like these groups of people in their country to actually go out and basically do these scams across the crypto space. Who do you guys think? I think we all know, and it's not just them, but it's a few collective people that are kind of all aligned. And I'll just say, because I know we don't have a big crowd here, but it's most likely what they're talking about is going after North Korea, believe it or not, because North Korea, maybe you have some Russia as well, right? They have a lot of state-sponsored groups that are basically tied to the government that are strictly there day in, day out, even India as well, day in, day out, to basically just try to scam anybody or any of these central exchanges, right, of their crypto assets, and then they basically dump it on us, right? So this right here would basically, what they're doing is they're removing the hurdles to where they could literally, the United States, if they get wind of, like, let's say it's a big crypto cyber hack, that came from North Korea. I'm just picking on North Korea today. Nothing against them or whatsoever. But let's say they're coming after them. They could literally, the government could get involved, and God knows what they could do, in retaliation, getting those assets back. And they have the means of doing it. I always wondered why they have not done something like this, just to kind of to scale it back, because you guys know, I mean, we all know, unfortunately, crypto is the easy target. A lot of these central exchanges will get attacked, or sometimes it's even projects will get, we've seen it with a lot of these projects, they get hacked, and basically, it always tends to be what these countries from across the sea, and it's usually the same groups that keep doing it, and it's not just small hacks. I mean, they get billions and billions of dollars every year, all the way from like hacking your normal retailer in DeFi, all the way up to, hacking Coinbase and all these. We've seen it before. Remember, I forgot what central exchange lost. Was it Binance? Or no, it wasn't Binance. It was somebody that lost like $1.5 billion worth of Ethereum, right? Gone. And we had to take that hit. And I say we as in because they just started basically selling it all on the market. So, this is it right here. It's right in my face. $1.5 billion exploit on Bybit in February. That was this year. And look who did it. So this move comes as, I should have just continued to read the article because it's literally saying everything that I was just saying. So, potential impacts. If HR 4988 becomes law, the U.S. could shift from relying primarily on intelligent gathering and actively deploying private actors in cybercrime interventions. This move comes amid growing frustration with the surge in high-profile crypto hacks. In 2025 alone, state-sponsored groups like North Korea's Lazarus Group have orchestrated major attacks, including $1.5 billion exploit on Bybit in February and breaches targets other major platforms in India like DCX. So right there you can see, I mean, I think this would be awesome. Now my question is, if the United States gets involved, like for the Bybit, are they gonna, if they're able to obtain, that's the Ethereum back, right? Let's say this was already in place and we saw the attack happen. The United States gets involved. They were able to basically obtain all the Ethereum or most of it back. Are they going to give it back to the central exchange? Are they going to hold it? That's my question. I wonder what they're going to do with all that. So I guess we'll have to find out. But I thought this was pretty cool. I thought, honestly, they were going to basically give us, the green light. If someone scans us, we can find out who it was. If someone does like a rug pull on DeFi, we can find out who they were, and potentially just pull up on them, and take it out and deal with it like the pirates used to do in the 18th century. That's what I was thinking we could do. But Punk, what's going on? But I guess they're a little bit more civilized. So it is what it is, right? I thought this was kind of cool right here. I wanted to pull this up right here. This is Trump's son, right? And remember, I don't give a shit who you voted for. I don't care. We're not being political whatsoever. But if these people are pro crypto, I think that's nothing but a plus if you're holding on to crypto, right? So.
And then I got canceled by every single bank in the country for no reason whatsoever. It's kind of funny. Those same banks are coming back now, and they're kissing our asses, as you can probably guess. But in the middle of the night, start getting letters, Capital One, from Chase, from Bank of America. Congratulations, all your bank accounts are being shut. I mean, for properties like this, right? Great resorts around the world, great golf courses around the world, residential buildings, condominium associations. I mean, entities that had absolutely nothing to do with politics other than the commonality, of the same last name. And at the same time, you had this war on kind of cryptocurrency all over the place. Every single person I knew that was in crypto, they were getting debanked, they were getting deplatformed. People were going after.
Have you guys ever dealt with that? Like where your bank? I personally have never dealt with that. But I've heard of people close to me that were like in the Discord and stuff like that, where like I can't transfer funds over to my, my crypto.com account. My bank won't allow it. And I'm like, holy shit, that's crazy. In my opinion, that you have your money in their institution, right? And all you're asking is them just to transfer the money over, not all your money, but transfer some funds over to almost like to a brokerage account. And they're telling you, no, you're not allowed to do that with your money, right? I don't know if any of you guys ever dealt with that, but just think about that in that term. Just a few years ago with the last administration, they basically were forcing the banks to do this. Now, I don't think the banks necessarily want to do this. They want to be part of crypto. They want to, they want a piece of the pie. But I think they were being forced because they didn't want to be audited or potentially shut down because they're allowing their users to potentially send money over to some of these exchanges, which a lot of them are overseas.
To them like they were dogs because they believed in a better future for finance. And you know what they say? They say kind of the enemy of your enemy becomes your friend. And this community became our closest friends. And the more I got to know the people, the more brilliant I realized they were on every facet kind of this crypto journey. Certainly on the what I really consider the hard asset side, which is clearly the Bitcoin side, certainly on the DeFi side, the CeFi side, the stablecoin side. And I fell into a world and I absolutely love it. I'd say right now I probably spend over 50% of my time in crypto, and this is coming from a guy who's building 25 projects around the world and knows the hotel game and knows the golf game.
You guys hear that? This guy right here we already know he's wealthy, right? He's obviously the president's son, but prior to even Trump being in politics, these people are billionaires, right? And he's literally telling you, I have hotels across the world, I have properties everywhere, I have a lot of money everywhere. And he's like, I spend 50% of my time on crypto or in crypto, right? These guys, and goes back to just yesterday, what we were talking about, yesterday, we're seeing sell-offs in the market and stuff like that. But on the flip side, or it was 2 days ago, we're looking on Arkham, which we'll pull it up to see if they have any news. We're looking up on Arkham, which this covers all the big whales, right? And like this article we read, this was literally 3 days ago, whales literally picking up $115 million worth of Ethereum when Ethereum broke down to like $4,000, right? You're literally seeing what's happening here. Big money is buying continuously, buying during these dips, these small little dips too. These are little baby dips, right? And I'm not saying this, I don't want to see a massive dip or anything like that, but these are little small dips, and these big institutions, these whales, whoever these people are, we can literally go through article after article, right? Because it looks like Arkham hasn't actually updated anything since last time we streamed, but you could see Bitmine stacking an additional $15 million worth of Ethereum, right? $115 million worth of Ethereum. These people are buying, while not all, but a lot of these, whoever right now is basically selling off, because Jerome Powell is going to talk tomorrow. The big money, they don't care. They understand where we're headed, especially in these next few months. A lot of these big, what is his name, Tom Lee, are calling for, a plus $10,000 Ethereum in the next 2 to 3 months. So think about that. $10,000, he really said potentially $15,000 by December, right? It's in the next 2 to 3 months. That's it, literally a 3x from right now. If Ethereum was to do just a 2x from right now, where do you think your alts are going to be? They're going to probably do a 5x, right? And the point of what I'm getting to is, yeah, it's right now, if you don't have dry powder, it stinks. But if you have dry powder, and you're accumulating like these whales are, follow the money. And these guys are not doing nothing but buying right now, because they know where we're headed. They know what we're going to be seeing in the next few months. It's crazy. We were talking about articles a few days ago. Some of these big name people that I respect are actually saying, yeah, 4-year cycle, but we could potentially be running into 2027. I think that's absolutely crazy. I hope it's right. I hope that I'm incorrect as far as, topping out at the end of this year. But you can see a lot of this big money is, they potentially think that we could be on some crazy super cycle. So, this would be nothing but awesome. And imagine you're getting an opportunity right now. Still to this day with some of these prices, XRP is still under $3, right? ICP, which I love, at $5.19. Fetch AI, it's 67 cents. You're seeing Jasmine still at a 1.5 pennies, right? You're seeing a lot of these projects still, even though they've seen some gains, they're still in these crazy prices where they haven't even started to really get into any kind of a parabolic move whatsoever, right? But I do think that threshold of us buying these projects at such a fraction of the price is dwindling down. And yes, you're going to still get dips as we move up. But some of these price points that we're seeing right now, I do not think they're going to be here for too much longer, in my opinion. So we'll see how this plays out. But for the most part, guys, I bring this stuff up because, yeah, the market, like I said earlier, you saw Bitcoin ran up to almost 114. Look where we're at right now. We're back down to 113.5, right? The markets right now, they're going to be how they are. We might see some movement towards the upside, but it's going to probably be short-lived until Mr. Powell talks tomorrow. And let's just hope that he at least gives a little bit of grace. He comes out with a little bit of grace, and he's not going to be going crazy, because we talked about this yesterday in the Discord. They say that Jerome Powell is the second most powerful person in the world. Is that because he runs an army, a military? No, it's not, because he literally dictates the international markets. When this guy talks, people listen, right? He has no boss. If you can see, obviously, Trump, if he could have, Powell would have disappeared a while back, right? And Trump would have probably put in somebody that was going to reduce interest rates fast. But he can't, right? Because Jerome Powell answers to no one. He is the top chair of the federal, of the feds, of where he's at, his station of the feds, so there's nobody that's above him, period. So that's why a lot of people, investors, they consider Powell as probably the second most powerful person, not because he's, running militias or armies and taking over countries. No, but he can literally, if you're invested in the market, he could, he can move your assets, right? And I mean across the world, right? Because what happens in the U.S. happens across the world, and that's just how it is. So tomorrow, he is going to be talking. Let me see what time Powell comes out. It comes out 1400. Let me check something real quick here. 1400 UTC. Hold on here. I bet you it's 2 o'clock. Oh, it's 10 a.m. Nice. Wait. Yeah, it's 10 a.m. So the event starts tomorrow at 10 a.m. So we are going to be streaming it tomorrow. So we'll see how this plays out. But I would most likely anticipate... Ricky, what's going on, brother? My assets been moving enough without all that noise. I would anticipate tonight, tomorrow, we're going to be in the same scenario. I wouldn't be surprised, and I just say this, I hope, it's not correct, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more of a sell-off as we get into the end of the market close today at 4 p.m., right? And tonight, going into tomorrow morning, just because it's going to be the last few hours until Jerome Powell comes out and talks, right? And then from there on, we're in his court as far as how the markets are going to do tomorrow. So be careful. Obviously not financial advice, but be careful with leverage, right? Because markets are going to be up and down, up and down. You're crazy right now, in my opinion, if you're opening up any longs or shorts, in my opinion. Adrian said, "Hey bro, do you think I should buy or just wait for the dip, or is this the dip?" I mean, that's a good question, bro. And I mean, it depends. It depends. What are you talking about buying, right? Are you talking about buying Ethereum right now at 4,300? Or are you talking about buying, a meme coin that's down like crazy right now? I mean, I would give you two different answers. I honestly would probably say both are, DCAing probably wouldn't be DCAing will probably be the most logical, right? Not financial advice answer in my opinion. And like I just said before, you're still in such a great buying opportunity for 95% of the market right now. Nothing. I mean, yes, we've seen some movement towards the upside for a lot of these alts, but we really haven't seen an explosion as far as any of the moves. So in my opinion, for 95% of the stuff that you're probably looking to buy, I would probably say it's probably in a good buying zone as of now. Dominance, as of right now, you can see dominance is looking great. We literally, as of right now, we have everything pointing towards a massive move towards the upside, especially in the alt sector, right? We just need to get past this macro shit. Last week, remember, the macro numbers that came out for the PPI, no Diddy, was terrible. One. And then we have Jerome Powell talking tomorrow. That's pretty much really the only big things right now that have been holding the markets down and why we've seen a brief sell-off. But, again, I'm anticipating that most likely by next week, given how most investors are, we kind of brush a lot of this stuff off. And then next week, we should be back up and at least trying to get some movement towards the upside. The only thing that I always say to you guys is, or that I keep saying, we'll bring up these liquidation heat map real quick. We'll bring it back up. But the one thing that I just want to keep harping on is usually I go back to 2021 in September. September was a brutal month in the bull run, right? And that we're literally a week away from getting into September. So is this the drop, like you're asking, Adrian? Is this the drop that we've been expecting for the last 2 weeks? I've been talking about it. Could be, right? Or there could be more pain, right? That's something that we just honestly we don't know as of now, right? We're not going to really know until after the fact. But my biggest thing with alts is even with the Bitcoin right now, right? The whales are buying. That should be your confirmation that, right now probably isn't a bad time to accumulate in small increments, DCAN, right? If you have $1,000 to spend and you're bullish on XRP, maybe do $100 increments, throughout the day or throughout the week or whatever the case is, or on big dips. Let's say that right now XRP is at $2.88. We're back into this consolidation zone. I can see, but like right now, throw $100 in. We come back, if we come down to the 236 right here, which we have support somewhere around there, around the $2.84, maybe throw $50 in. You know what I'm saying? We're just dollar cost averaging in, instead of throwing it all in at once and kind of just hoping for the best. Just DCA is probably the best way to do it, because you're basically giving yourself an opportunity. If we do continue to drop down, or if we see any like those flash crashes that periodically happen, you can take advantage of it. You'll have some liquidity to buy. So with Ethereum, okay, so you're talking about Ethereum. I mean, like I said, bro, we just talked about Ethereum, right? I wish you were here a month ago, bro, because we called this out before the craze of Ethereum kind of popped off. And I told everybody when we were at 2,500, I said Ethereum is going to be breaking $4,000 here soon. And 3 weeks later, we broke $4,000. If I look at it right now, I would say 4,200 isn't a bad area. I mean, obviously you're buying in, after we've moved up a considerable amount. I don't think that Ethereum, unless something crazy happens, we're going to see these numbers again where it's sub 3,000. But like I said, same analogy, just kind of not financial advice, but just DCAing right now would probably be the best solution, I would say. And maybe wait to see this 4,100. You had an opportunity yesterday, was a good opportunity. You broke below 4,100. That's going to be a good spot. In my opinion, 41 or below would be a good spot for some DCAing. You guys, for Ethereum particularly, institutions are all over it. I'm almost certain, right? You can't say with 100% certainty, but I'm almost certain Ethereum's going to be breaking all-time highs coming up here soon, which is $4,800. We came so close, but $4,890 is going to be your all-time high for Ethereum. So just to answer that question again, I know it's taking me 15 minutes to answer, but I wanted to give a full-blown, how I look at it. I just think DCA, buy on some red days, buy on dips, have liquidity always there, so you're just buying small increments. And I think long-term Ethereum is going to do well for you, bro. Ricky said it's a scalper's dream if they have patience. Yeah, I mean, like it really is, right? It really is the swings, the volatility right now. But I don't know. Like you guys know how I am. I'm usually scalping the shit out of the market. This last week I haven't. I just been buying the dips and letting it chill. I'm sleeping better at night, believe it or not. I'm sleeping better right now. Craig said I'm back. Got busy at work. M&Ms equal massive moves. I thought you were gonna say you were at work eating M&Ms, bro. I was gonna say, damn, dude. Kind of sounds like a fire day right there. Just be chilling, eating some M&Ms, watching the crypto channel. Bill said, so hard for me to buy Ethereum during this dip when my bag I have is at like 6,550. I hear you, bro. I'm the same way, dude. Like if I was buying Ethereum like last year, and my average is at like 1,000 or 1,500, it'd be really hard for me to buy at these prices. And it's not the fact that you know that it's going to probably 99% chance this thing is going to easily break out. It's just really a mental thing. Like your average right now, you're at 1,500 or what'd you say, 1,600. Your average is there. You're going to increase that average, if you start buying in at these higher prices, because that's like over 2x right now that you'll be buying in at. So I'm right there with you. A lot of times I'm so stubborn. I'm like, can't do it. And then a week later, it's like, if you would have just bought, you would have just added more. I mean, you would have made money, right? Obviously. So, but hindsight 2020, it's like, why didn't you just buy so much more at 1,600, right? I'm even looking back right now and I'm like, bro, why the hell didn't I, accumulate a bunch of Ethereum when I knew, even at 2,500, like I knew it was heading up. We talked about it on our members only stream. We talked about it here on the regular streams. We knew it was heading up, and I still was like, nah, I'm not gonna buy any. I'm not gonna buy. Who wants to make money, right? I was an easy, what, 50% move, if not more, from the 2,500 mark. So. What is this, June 22nd? 2 months ago, Ethereum was literally at 2,100. What is that percent wise? 103%. That's a freaking move right there. I think people don't realize, like, 103%, that's a big move. We see it all the time on a lot of these projects. But 103% on an asset that's like a $500 billion market cap is such a massive, massive move. Do you understand how much money had to been injected into that project, No Diddy, for it to move up that much? Massive amount of money. DeFi, real quick. Pull up DeFi. Yesterday was having a solid day in DeFi. Let's see here. So, excuse me. Right now, I mean, you can see we are like halfway from the projects that we have on our watch list. A handful of them are doing good. Shitcoin, not doing bad right now, up 35%. I know someone in the back is like, shitcoin? Yep, there is a shitcoin on Solana, and it's not doing bad. Up 35%. I probably wouldn't buy in on it, but it's not doing bad. A project that was doing really well yesterday and still holding some solid gains is a project that we all talk about here on the channel. ZBCN. Absolutely ripping yesterday. We ran up to about 48, almost 49. We are sitting at around 45, so we're holding some solid levels as of now. It looks like we're actually hitting our head at a spot that is resistance, which is around that 45, 56 area right now. You can see we keep coming up to hit our head, looking like we want to break above. There was something on ZBEC here. Let's see here. This was as of yesterday. So ZBEC network forms a bullish retest at supports for higher prices. So let's see here. So ZBEC network is forming a bullish retest at major support, holding key confluences, including the VWAP. We all know about the VWAP, right? And the 0.618 Fibonacci. A sustained reaction here could open the door for higher prices and targets. So let's see here. So ZBEC network has recently corrected from its swing high, pulling back to a region of strong technical confluence. The retracement has aligned with the VWAP and the 618 Fibonacci level and the point of control of the entire trading range. From a market structure perspective, this setup suggests a potential higher low forming, which is generally seen as a bullish continuation pattern. So let's see here. So key technical points. I think they just basically said that. So the VWAP, which we've talked about the VWAP. I showed you guys how to use VWAP as a indicator that you can use on the on your trading view. I'm not going to go through it right now, but it's basically a collection of moving averages and volume. It basically will give you a range to trade into. Where's our here? So the VWAP, the 618 Fibonacci, and a point of control aligned to the current retest zone. So you guys can see, looking at their chart here, you can see this right here, I believe, is going to be the VWAP. Like I said, again, that's going to be your volume, your volume with your moving averages all kind of combined, gives you a VWAP. You can see it looks like they have the 618. I don't know where their chart is, somewhere around the 40. We didn't even actually come down to that 40 level. We held pretty well before we bounced yesterday. So they're seeing a daily HTF resistance somewhere around 53, and then big resistance somewhere around 58 on their chart. And the daily support, they have some pretty freaking low levels here, which I wouldn't be upset if we came down to there briefly, would be somewhere around the 32 and the 25 area. I don't see us coming down to those areas particularly, but if we did, wouldn't be a bad little area to jump in on. Let's see here. There was some other news though. I believe that ZBEC had acquired something here. Let me go back to I could have sworn I saw something about ZBEC they acquired something. Oh, right here. What is this? So ZBEC announced, I don't know, here directly with Mikey, CEO of World Mobile, and Simon, as they discuss the future of mobile networks and ZBEC and payments. So it looked like, and this was probably the big reason why Zbeck was running yesterday. They had a live, I believe, most likely on X. They did, where I guess they were talking to this mobile company, World Mobile, in regards to basically implementing Zbeck as the payment solution for that mobile network. Which, right, might not sound like, oh, that's not that big. You have to remember, these people have been just acquiring, like every month it seems like Zbeck is acquiring some kind of a company or working with MasterCard and this company and stuff, and they're basically, what they're doing is they're getting a lot of the structure set up to where a lot of these companies are basically given the option to a lot of their users, or basically, I don't want to say forcing, but having their users use the Zbeck network for their payment solutions, via through payroll, or if it's through just paying your bills or whatever the case may be, right? So slowly but surely, this is what's going to move this project up continuously and get it up to those multi-billions of dollars that we all know it's going to get to at some point, as it keeps either working or acquiring these companies, right, for payment solution. So Bill said he's going to start a project called Dude, Where's My Lambo? Logo will just be a grumpy picture of Jerome Powell. Well, let's hope Jerome Powell comes out. He eats his breakfast tomorrow, right? Maybe has a good night with his wife. I don't know if he's married tonight. You know what I'm saying, right? Has a good night. Wakes up tomorrow all cheery, and everything goes good tomorrow at the damn J. They're calling it J-hole. Is what they're calling it. No Diddy. At J-hole tomorrow. Punk said I was trying to get to 1 million Zbeck, but it's not happening now, bro. 1 million Zbeck right now is pricey. 1 million Zbeck right now, bro, will break the bank. Let me just tell you that. Because I'm trying to get back. I had initially like 500,000 Zbeck. It's not worth, no way. Oh, that's that. I was like, wait. I had 500,000 Zbeck, and I'm getting towards there again, but I'm not there yet, and I'm like, holy shit, it feels like it's costing me a lot more money. And it is, because even though I'm buying in at a cheaper price that I sold, because you guys remember I sold to reposition myself on Zbeck when we made it up to some of these higher levels. I acquired most of that Zbeck when we were way down here, down into the 20s, so it only cost me like $1,500 to get, 500,000. Now it feels like it's like I feels like I have more than that as far as money wise, and I'm not anywhere near what I was holding. Let's see here. So 500. Well, let's see what a million costs. 100,000. Wait, what is that? A billion? Hold on here. 100,000. Oh, that's what I did. Hold on, I messed up here. I put like 100 billion. 100,000, a million. All right, there we go. I was like, wait, something is right here. So a million Zbeck right now would cost you around $4,500 at its current price. So I mean, that's that's depends, right? Everybody's got different financial situations, and everybody's playing with different kind of monopoly money. 4,500 to me, I mean, that's a, if I was like all in on Zbeck, nothing else, I would acquire that. You know what I'm saying? But like 4,500, I would probably, like I said, I feel comfortable with getting, as much as possible. But if I can get to that 500,000 threshold again, I feel comfortable with holding on to that, given that we know this is going to go to a multi-billion-dollar project. Obviously, I want the most as possible, but what I'm getting to is I get that 500,000. Maybe if I have the 4,500 to play with, the other, what would it be, 2,200 or whatever the case is, 2,250. I'm gonna probably put that in some kind of a meme coin, because obviously, if I find a low cap meme coin, which I do have, I love Mask, which I think Mask is going to be that big boy play, right? Something like that, I think, is probably going to see more gains, particularly just because the market cap, is so much smaller than Zbeck. Now, if we were learning all this about Zbeck and Zbeck was like under $100 million market cap, I would probably have multi-millions of Zbeck. We had somebody on the channel I forgot who it was, bro. Who was it? You guys remember it was either during the stream or the member stream. He's like, bro, he had 5 million ZBEC, and it's one of the members, I believe. I don't want to call them out, and I don't even remember who it was. I have an idea, but they had 5 million ZBEC, and I was like, holy shit. And he's like, he sold off on the original run up when ZBEC ran up to here, but he had been buying when it was down here. And he said he made 30 or 40 grand off of that move, right? Which was insane. I mean, that's a beautiful move right there, right? And I have to say, for ZBEC, we have been covering ZBEC since it dropped, but I hadn't been buying in. I have to give credit to some of the members, particularly from what I remember was Flip was one of the first people, if not the first person, that called out ZBEC on the channel, and he called it out when it was down here at a fraction of where it's at right now. So I mean, that's why I always tell you guys, make sure you guys hit that subscribe and pay attention, because maybe you don't get the info directly from myself, but people that are connected to the channel, I always say keep an eye out on Flip. Right? I always say keep an eye out on him, right? And he comes in, he'll drop those jewels. No Diddy on that one, but it'll drop some of these fire plays, but it's like, it's up to you to act on them, right? And not every single play is going to be a massive mover, but I even look back and I'm like, damn it, because he had me looking at the charts when they were down here and we were looking at them. I was like, yeah, it's a cool project. Did not even pay attention, like as far as buying in, so it is what it is, right? I think we all have stories like that with a lot of stuff. So, but this has happened so many times on the channel. I mean, do you guys remember some of my OGs? Do you guys remember when Call dropped on Chronos? Now, I'll take credit for that. I literally told the whole channel, this project, I dropped it in the Discord. I said, yo, this project just dropped. It was Call. I have probably a handful of people that made over $10,000, $20,000 that are on our Discord off that play alone. Just off that play alone when they bought in on Call, right? So I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but there are periodic times where we stumble across plays or whatever the case is, and we start talking about them, and not a lot, but there are, like I said, handful of times where they turn around and I hear these people, they hit me up telling me stories like, bro, I made 10 grand off of that in a day, or I made, life-changing money. I'm like, damn. And there's no hate on my side. I'm like, damn, I'm happy. This is exactly what I wanted this channel to be, is something like that, where we have an avenue of where people can call plays out, and we can make money, because that's what we're all here to do, right? It's just to make money, and get that financial freedom at some point, right? So, but yeah, that's pretty much it as far as that. So just real quick before you guys go, remember, tomorrow we have Jackson Hole. Jerome Powell's going to be talking. I know we've said that 1,000 times. If I had $1 every time I said that this past week, I'd have $1,000, right? But Jackson Hole's tomorrow. It's at 10 a.m., I believe. I just looked it up. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Your boy Powell's going to be talking. Hopefully, like I said, he has a good night tonight. He eats his breakfast tomorrow, and he comes in a good mood, and he's not coming in, trying to like crush the markets, because he easily can, So we'll see how that plays out. But expect volatility, right? Expect low movement as far as of now, and this is as of now, but as the markets get closer to closing today around 4 o'clock for the stock market, just don't be surprised if we see a little bit more of a sell-off, potentially. Hopefully we see maybe people buying in, maybe the markets start running with anticipation that tomorrow is going to be dovish for Powell, but don't be surprised if it is somewhat of a continuation of a sell-off by the markets today, with anticipation of tomorrow at 10 a.m. Powell is going to be coming out speaking to the world in regards to his normal, they do it annually. They do it every year as far as the economy and stuff like that. So we'll see how this plays out. Let me just reload this real quick before we leave. Yeah, look at this. Oh my gosh, guys. Look at this. Just in the last hour, we've lost another 5%. So now we're at 75% of the market is thinking that we're going to see a pause, and we have about 25% of the market now thinking that we're going to see, or 75% thinking we're going to see a reduction in interest rates, and we have 25% thinking we're going to see a pause. Just a week ago, we were at 99% of the market was calling for some kind of a reduction in interest rates. So you guys can see it. Like I said, I called this for the last few days. This is going to fluctuate, and I think it's going to fluctuate towards a lot of more people are going to be indicating that we're going to see a pause and the interest rates coming up in September. So tomorrow is going to be a big day for us, guys. So just be ready, get some sleep tonight, and we'll talk about this. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Make sure you guys please slap that like. If you guys are new, hit that subscribe button. All right. And with that being said, thank you guys so much. Have a productive day. And I'll see each and every one of you guys a little bit later. Maybe we'll have a members only stream tonight and do some trenches. I'll let everybody know. All right, guys. All right. I'll see you guys later. Thank you.